What?
My last note, why does this movie exist? Oh, man.
I only took notes on The Force Awakens.
Am all Jedi.
I literally only took notes on The Force Awakens. The other two, I was just like...
They were bad.
It was, what is happening? What is happening?
Morning, everybody. My name's Chris.
And I'm Jen.
And this is World Wakers.
So...
We are recording right now after having rewatched the last, or the newest, I should say, Star Wars episodes.
The sequels.
The sequels.
The sequels.
The sequel. The Bears.
Yeah.
And now we're copyrighted. I came here... Oh, that's right. That was, looking at my notes, it's like, I came here to die? What the heck? Oh, wait, that's Luke. Forgot about that. So, I guess we're just going to go ahead and kick this off by picking a specific topic. I guess the one that I want to rave about the most is the economics that they decided to completely and utterly destroy like any semblance of like reality at all with economics in those movies. Because I know the one that I want to start off the first with is the Star Killer base, which was like the big plot point for the 7th movie.
Was that was the 7th one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, besides the fact that they were like, Rey is the most powerful already. Oh, wait, no, wait, she's not. Or maybe she is, or maybe she's not, or maybe she is. You'll never know because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. We had 2 different directors who told 2 completely different stories.
And somehow screwed both up. But, I mean, just to kind of, like, start off, what, I don't know if I can actually say this on the air, but what asinine idiot decided to design anything in these movies? Because the Star Killer base is supposed to be, like, what was it? He said, like, 4.0 Death Star, because they had, like, 3 or 4 versions. I think it's 3.0 Death Star.
I don't even know.
They remade it twice in the old ones and blah 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 and all that stuff.
Well, don't say the old ones. They had 2 in the originals.
The original, yeah, honestly, that is a better way of saying it. Originals, because by golly, they deserve a lot more respect than anything that's been done nowadays.
Yeah, the economics of just the sheer amount of supplies that they had, and you could just focus on the metal. Just the metal, and you have to include the 3rd one in this with all the, what is it?
Oh, don't even get me started.
All the Star Destroyers that just came out of the ocean.
Planet-wide amount of Star Destroyers in the sky, and they just happened to have it. And nobody noticed them building it.
Yeah, where were all the shipyards? And where are all the planets that got stripped?
Yeah, because that, like, with the amount of fleet that they had in the originals, that was a lot of resources. And they had a lot everywhere. But that was because they had full control over the known galaxy.
Not all of it. There was Hut Space. There was Hut Space. There was Wild Space, there was the Unknown Regions.
But that's what I say, it is like charted, essentially, because in Unknown Space, it's not really that. Wild Space, it's kind of like, it's like a frontier.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of space, but they still had access to go out there and get resources from them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the First Order was apparently, they were a group of scientists, leftovers that were on the outer rim, and that's why they weren't affected by the fall of the Empire.
And apparently they kept their really super genius scientists hidden and didn't utilize them for the first 2 Death Stars for some reason.
Even yeah, but even in the prequels, they showed in the Clone Wars how the Genovians.
Yeah, Genovians.
They
Yeah.
actually were working on the plans with the Death Star at that point because they had to escape with the plans.
Right, yeah, no, I remember that.
There was a lot of manpower that was put into making literally something that a space station that could travel and destroy a planet from orbit.
Yeah.
Or beyond orbit, actually.
And there's the key there. From orbit.
From orbit, or at least within range.
Yes.
With nothing else blocking it. Which comes to one of my another big part that I hated about the Star Killer, and still hate about it because it makes no freaking sense, is how they designed a planet killer that can perfectly match the trajectory of a moving planet.
Mm-hmm.
In a solar system, in a completely different solar system.
Yeah. Really?
And get it with, perfect precision 6 times in a row.
No, not in a row, all at once.
All at once. That's 6 times at once.
Yeah, they destroyed 6 whole planets all at the same time. Somehow.
Yeah, so they had this...
super dangerous.
Oh, no.
Basically, it's like, okay, we're just going to try and make this scarier than the Death Star for shock value, but in reality, it's just completely and utterly ridiculous.
Honestly, beyond ridiculous, because at that point, there's no point of anything else. You can destroy anything from anywhere in the galaxy. What's the point of having any other kind of ships, except for transport ships?
Yeah.
And so, at that point, why stop?
Because you don't have to travel anywhere. You can just threaten everyone from your backyard.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, though, is everybody has to come to you. And, it was a whole entire thing about how, they were going to save Rey. Oh, and we'll get onto the subject of how in the world they even got the plans in the first place. But...
We don't know.
But I know that with this one, they were definitely trying to copy-paste from the original trilogy.
Oh, well, not even just the original trilogy, but The Force Awakens is literally the crap version copy-paste of A New Hope.
Yep.
Right down to the quote-unquote mentor figure that gets killed. And anyway, yeah, and just...
But,
for some context here, just for a little bit of context here, back when this movie was first announced, what was that, 2000 and...
Oh, boy, it's been a couple of years.
It's been more than a couple of years. The last movie that came out, I think, was Solo, and that was 2018, which was 5 years ago now, I think.
Ooh. So if that one was... Solo was after that, probably around 2015.
Yeah, probably about 2015 this movie was announced, maybe, I don't know.
Probably released in 2015, but yeah.
I could look it up, but I really don't give a crap.
True.
But I remember when this movie was announced, because, you and I, Star Wars that was our jam when we were preteens, young teens. We could basically we could quote almost the entire original trilogy movies.
Oh yeah, because
but we could quote the line right before the line was about to be said.
Yeah.
Perfect inflections. Drove our parents absolutely insane. They hated watching this movie with us.
Even the little ones that introduced us to it.
No, actually, it wasn't.
Wasn't it?
Well, actually, Dad took me. Because when I watched it again when I was a kid, I had deja vu for A New Hope. When I was about 4 or 5, I remember Dad took me. Well, I don't remember, but Dad took me to the theater to go see it when it was re-released, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw it again years later as a kid, I had the weirdest deja vu, I'd seen it before, but I didn't think I had. I still loved the movies, but. And, sci-fi wasn't necessarily my biggest focus anymore, but I still loved the series, And I remember when The Force Awakens was announced, I was really tentatively excited, because I hadn't seen the Clone Wars. I wasn't necessarily interested in it. I stopped reading the expanded universe years ago, and I was thinking, maybe this new movie will kind of reignite my old love for Star Wars, because I still liked it as a story, but I just didn't love it as much as I did, which, sometimes that happens. You like it, but not as much as you did. But I remember when we came out of that movie theater, because, when we watched it, it was exciting, but there were just moments where it was like, I really don't know about this. But at the conclusion, it's like they had so much, they hit you so hard and so often with the nostalgia that you thought you loved it with that love that you had for the originals. But as soon as we got in the car and started driving home and we started picking it apart, it was like, wow, that was a piece of garbage.
Because, quite frankly, there's a lot of things I want to rip apart, but it's kind of going back to where my original subject was, is how, you had to find the weakness, the weak point on the Star Killer base.
Yeah, Star Killer, whatever.
But they had to find the weakness, and kind of dumb that the weakness is kind of sitting out in the open in that one. Because at least the other one, they had to literally use space magic to be able to shoot a torpedo down a
tiny little ventilation shaft. Yeah.
That's apparently the size of a rat.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about, and I think there was some video talking about how ventilation means that it is literally expelling heat.
Mm-hmm.
So a torpedo traveled miles down a tube the size of a rat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely some space magic.
For sure. I like how you point out how it was the size of a rat, because that's what it was compared to.
The Womp Rat.
Was it the Womp Rat?
Yeah, because he was saying he was a...
Okay, because I knew it was some sort of rat.
Yeah.
And it's like, because him and...
Wedge?
No, not Wedge. Dak.
Dak, yeah, that's right.
No, Dak was the guy in the other one. Dak was the guy. Dak was his gunner in Empire Strikes Back when they were fighting on Hoth.
So I think it was Wedge.
No, because Wedge lives. His friend that he wanted to go to the academy with or whatever. The one that, not the academy, he wanted to join the rebellion with. From Tatooine. He was there, but he didn't survive.
That's true.
But they talked about how it was the rats that they bigger, same size as the rats that they shot back home.
Yeah, the Womp Rats back on Tatooine. Yeah. And so you gotta.
But keep talking.
Sure.
Keep talking. I'm gonna look it up. I'm a fact checker.
My main point being, it's like you got that where it takes some space magic bullcrap to do that. I say bullcrap because but. Then you have the new one where it's like, so they just decided to leave one of the most important systems for this planet-sized space station planet thing. Is it a space station if it's a planet?
Do we ever actually see the whole Star Killer base?
Just from a outside view whenever it fires. And it literally encompasses the entire planet.
Well, they had to make it bigger than a moon because they had to make it better than the Death Star.
Which is their entire point, is they had to make it bigger.
I've seen The Force Awakens twice now.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever actually seeing Star Killer Base.
It's a very quick scene, and you don't get very long to look at it because your mind probably didn't really comprehend a lot of it, because right after that, then they decided that they could destroy 6 planets from light years away. That's true,
and it kind of takes precedence of the stupidity over...
Which, I actually got some interesting information about that. There was a cut scene in The Force Awakens that was a 2-minute introduction of Princess Leia. Or General Leia in their sense, their stupid demotion.
Yeah, her demotion that she got,
apparently in that deleted scene, it was supposed to be her actual first introduction, but they decided to cut it because they wanted the drama of first seeing her with Han. But in this scene, she's actually in contact with people on all 6 of those planets because they are the main stake of the Republic. They are the main planets. They are in that.
Even though we have none of their names.
But that's the thing, though, is they actually talk to them. She actually interacts with them. You get story information about them, but they cut it.
They cut it.
Because they wanted a more dramatic scene for her.
No, but the scene with her and Han was one of the most disappointing scenes in cinematic history, in my opinion.
I know, but they decided they wanted to do that more, and so they literally took context away from the real story to try to draw more drama.
Well, I mean, no one ever accused them of being intelligent.
Well, it's guaranteed at this point that there is no intelligence.
Because, like, okay, the last time we were watching this, did we not actually have this discussion while we were watching it? Is we get, like, a 2-second clip of people on this planet that we don't know.
Mm-hmm. And
at that point, you watch six planets get destroyed. All that is just numbers. Well, because there is absolutely zero connection to any of that at all.
Until Finn runs up and says, that was the Republic.
Yeah,
which is all context we get.
Yeah, and then you're like, wait, what? Why is the New Republic just 6 planets?
By the way, why did Finn have, like, extreme, telescope eyes? How did he know that they hit the Republic planets?
Were they close?
No, they were able to see it from space because, I mean, planets were being destroyed.
Right, because they were on Pseudo-Yavin.
Yeah, Pseudo-Yavin, which was that's an entirely another thing.
Yeah.
But, no, he actually did, and then he decided to run up and say, hey, that's the First Order, they destroyed the Republic, and it's like...
Leia would have known that immediately. She didn't need him to tell her that.
Well, they weren't with Leia.
Okay.
They were with the...
Was he telling Poe and Rey, or...?
He was telling Han and Rey. Poe was not there. This was before Poe shows up.
Okay. Well, Han would have known that, too.
But...
Okay.
Point being, there's a lot of context that they could have provided, and it was literally 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's how long.
2 whole minutes.
2 whole minutes.
That would have... Because, okay, again... They were stealing from A New Hope because Leia stood there and watched her adoptive planet get destroyed, which actually gave it weight, and it made you feel something.
Yeah,
which is the whole point here, but and leaving that in there would have at least given something. But you feel absolutely nothing watching all those planets.
And the best part is you see that lady. And apparently, I haven't seen the scene myself, but apparently that lady might have been the one that was talking the most between Leia. Mm-hmm. So you would have had context to why they decided to cut to this random planet.
Random woman on a balcony.
Yeah, on a balcony, looking out there that could have been Coruscant. And
yeah, is it Coruscant? We don't know. Didn't look dirty enough to be Coruscant, but that should have been the center of the New Republic, because that's where the center of the Old Republic was, I think.
And the center of the Empire was.
Definitely the center of the Empire. Yeah. Now, my knowledge on the Old Republic is not all that good, but I believe... Well, because
the Senate was on
where
Coruscant.
The Senate was. It was centered on Coruscant.
And that's where the Jedi Order was also based, too.
Yes.
So, you would think that it was still there, and...
So did they just canonically destroy Coruscant? Is that why everything has been on Tatooine recently?
Probably.
Because, I mean, what is it? We have, or Tatooine adjacent, I should say. Yeah. I mean, Jakku. All I know from The Mandalorian is they're constantly on Tatooine or desert planets. Obi-Wan Kenobi garbage.
Yeah.
Tatooine, of course, that was supposed to be on Tatooine. The whole thing was supposed to be on Tatooine. He was never supposed to leave the planet. But hey, you know what? We're not talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
No, we'll get to the rest. Actually, no, we won't get to the rest of that crap.
No, I'm not watching that. No, I watched enough reviews. I'm not watching Andor. I'm not watching The Mandalorian.
So,
I'm not watching any.
Going back to our original topic of economics, because the First Order decided to do the stupidest thing possible. Is you literally ruined the known galaxy, because you destroyed the Republic. Congratulations, you destroyed the planets that have the most amount of technology. You literally wiped out centuries worth of information. You literally destroyed... Oh my
gosh, I haven't even thought of that.
No, they destroyed centuries worth of information.
Yeah.
They destroyed every single freighter that had any kind of supply on there.
Oh, and there'd be so many... They just destroyed the economy of the entire galaxy.
Yeah, they literally destroyed the economy of the entire galaxy through stupidity for shock factor.
Yeah.
Because at that point now, it even goes even further of saying, alright, you destroyed that... Boom! You destabilized the entire, because now the police force gone in the planet. There is no republic. There is no central figure.
Yeah.
Now everybody else is going to be like...
Yeah, and the Hutts would have jumped on that. There would have been a galaxy-wide war of somebody trying to take hold of that. Except their arbitrary... of course, they never even address this in the movie, of the socio-political effects of this, but you could just... blanket cover it with, oh, well, if they try to fight back, they're just going to have all their planets blown up, which is such an arbitrary... But they wouldn't, because...
It's gone.
It's gone now.
It's gone. And everybody knew about that because, one, the very first thing you would do when you find a super weapon is send people to go check it out. So and since it's a planet-sized one, it's not going to be hard to find unless it's gone.
Yeah.
Which I can guarantee you, the very first thing the Resistance... You have to throw up twice for that. The very first thing the Resistance would have done is report their success, because that would, one, alleviate the remainder forces all around across the galaxy, and also show that the First Order no longer has their trump card. Granted, at the end of that, and then we jump to the next one, in that aspect, the Resistance has been left out to dry, whereas the First Order hasn't been crippled because they spent too much putting everything into one basket. No, instead, they decide to bring in my second point for the whole entire idea, is the Dreadnought class Star Destroyers.
Yeah, bigger than the Excalibur class.
Bigger than 10 Star Destroyers combined.
Not Excalibur class. What was Vader's ship called? Executor?
Wasn't it the Executor? You have to look that up too.
I'm going to have to look that up too.
But
also, you are correct on the Womp Rats.
Cool. Okay. I know I was correct. I've heard that line so many times.
Yeah,
but
no.
So...
It's been a while since I've seen the original trilogy. Don't lose your train of thought. It's been a while since I've seen the OG. That's how badly these movies affected me. It's like I almost have no desire to watch the original. But I need to. It hurts. That hurts. That legitimately hurts. Okay, continue.
So we get to the first point, the Starkiller base. Completely unrealistic. I actually should go back to it because it also has another point that is probably one of the stupidest things they could have ever done. But I've already left that area because.
Okay, sorry. His ship was named the Executor. It was the Super Star Destroyer class.
Yeah, super.
There weren't dozens and dozens of them, though.
No, there was one.
Sorry, I mean to interrupt you there, but hey, we're nerds. That's what we do.
But the Dreadnought class Star Destroyers that were almost 10 to 20 times larger than any other Star Destroyers, which were also outfitted with orbital...
planet killers.
Well, now that was in the 9th one, not the Dreadnoughts. That's just Palpatine's secret army. Yeah. We'll get to that one! But these had the capability for orbital attacks, which were not like the other ones where it was just like, here's big laser, goes destroy that. Star Destroyers had that too. But these had enough power to level an entire mountain range in just 2 shots. They had 2 of those. Just because. And just in the same space, while also having dozens of Star Destroyers. So, what universe did they have to strip mine to get the amount of resources for the Starkiller base? 2 Dreadnought classes, dozens of Star Destroyers, and they were not the leading force in the galaxy. They were hidden.
Yeah, they were hidden.
For years.
Well,
and they had to literally...
Was it 20, 25 years?
20 to 25 years. And they had to genetically engineer their own stormtroopers to even make an army. They literally talked about having to program them from birth.
Well, because they were stolen. They were conscripted.
Yeah.
So it's like you have thousands upon millions of children being stolen.
Across the galaxy.
Well, we don't know if it's across the galaxy from somewhere, but you'd think somebody would notice, and then they'd be like, hey, I think the old Empire is stirring up trouble over there in that part of the galaxy.
So
but nobody noticed.
They strip mined an entire galaxy's worth of resources. They stole hundreds of thousands of children to program them. I actually can't fathom the amount of energy it required to create all these. And then we even see in the 8th movie how they have enough resources to double armor AT-ATs, which were the all-terrain attack transports, which they were already armored, like heavily armored in the originals. Like, these things were so powerful, the ships couldn't actually damage them with their stuff. They had to literally tie them up and make them fall over.
Yeah.
That's how heavily armored these things were. But they decide to just, out of nowhere, get all the resources they possibly could have ever needed to create all of these things, while under the radar of the rebel/republic, and then somehow make more powerful things in, I would say, less time than the Empire did. It's just...
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And it
drives
me insane.
I see those dreadnoughts. The ones in the sequels. They're called the Dreadnought class. Now, I don't know how much stock we want to put into this particular website. Well, I know a lot of the fan Wikipedias, they're pretty good, I guess. But it was here it's called, because I will say that the information that I got, I was on the Disney Star Wars website without realizing it. But this one says that the Executor was an Executor class star dreadnought, and it was one of the largest and most powerful Imperial vessels ever created. I don't know how many of them there were. The Executor might have been the only one.
Well, I mean, that means that they stole the name and decided to go bigger.
Yeah.
Because old movie is not good enough. New movie must be better.
Yeah, Executor class star dreadnought. Let's see if there's any more of them that were made.
So, I mean, the First Order already had, like, a psychotic level of resources and all this stuff and everything coming out there. And then going back to the Starkiller base, how, we're going to harness the power of the sun to generate this thing to shoot lasers across the galaxy because... Oh, wait, no. In the next movie, lasers have drop-off in space. Oh, wait, but in the new one, lasers can be just replaced with Star Destroyers. An entire fleet of Star Destroyers. Oh, wait, each Star Destroyer has a cannon that has the same power of a literal space station that was the size of a moon?
Yeah. Okay.
But,
so, in terms of the Super Star Destroyers, or the Star Dreadnoughts, there was, of course, Vader's flagship, the Executor, which we're all familiar with. And then Palpatine's personal ship, the Eclipse. And there were 3 other that were named, but the number of how many of them were actually made is debatable, apparently, because I guess you have to kind of include... whether or not you want to include the extended universe in it or not.
Yep.
But there were 5. Just 5 named ones that I can find that we know of.
And that was from the original series.
Well, probably including some extended universe information as well.
True. So that was...
But of course the most famous one is the Executor.
Yeah,
Vader's ship.
I'm pretty sure was it Tarkin? He was on the big villains in the extended universe.
Tarkin?
Tarkin.
No, he was Grand Admiral Tarkin. He was in A New Hope, wasn't he? He died on the first Death Star.
Who am I thinking of?
You're talking about Thrawn?
Thrawn. I'm pretty sure Thrawn probably had one as well.
Well,
I would be surprised.
It's been a while since I've read the book. I don't think he did though.
That's
I think they just had.
surprising.
I think they just had Death Stars. Wow, yeah, they had Death Stars. They had Star Destroyers and TIE Fighters, I think.
Wow, that's impressive.
Well, Thrawn was an impressive villain.
Yeah. Then we get to the last part, which is in episode 9.
There's literally... The funny thing is, since we're bypassing 8, is...
I mean...
There's it doesn't address any of this in 8 because, for one, different director, completely different story, completely different focuses.
Yep.
Completely and utterly arbitrary, except that's where we see, for the first time, the souped-up AT-ATs and AT-STs, which they look like they're, 2 to 3 times bigger than the originals, maybe.
Yep, and twice as armored.
Twice as armored, just absolutely unnecessarily massive. So that, but in terms of story, has absolutely nothing to add.
Yeah.
But then neither does 9, because I'm telling you that line that somehow Palpatine returned. I thought that was a meme.
No,
I thought it was a meme. It is a meme, but I didn't know that was an actual line in the movie because I hadn't seen it until recently, and I wanted to throw myself off the roof. But because I'd seen a still shot of that, and I laughed because I'm like, haha, funny, yeah, sure, somehow Palpatine returned. No, it's actually that is a line that comes out of Poe's mouth.
Word for word comes out of Poe's mouth. Which, Poe is a character, I kind of liked him in the first one. Second one, they just completely demasculated him. And third one, I don't even know what happened with the third one.
I don't know. It's like all 3 of them were just angry at each other. Rey was the worst character ever because she ditched everyone all the time.
Always.
And then at the end, they're just suddenly best friends. And oh my gosh, isn't she awesome? She ditched everyone. Everywhere they went. She left them without saying anything.
Yep. Even in, really, really, desperate situations. She literally was like, I have something more important to do
than all of you. And then she gets Chewie captured, and then, of course, she thinks that she kills him herself because for some reason you could just arbitrarily use Force lightning with... Oh, you know what? I'm not even going to get into that. We're going
to get into that later.
No, don't even get me started on Rey. Don't get me started on Rey.
We'll have an entire segment on Rey.
Don't get me started on Rey.
But, going back to the original point of the economics, which is, we're trying to stay on it, but by God, this entire series is garbage.
It's a hot mess. The whole thing's a
Somebody
mess.
threw oil in a dumpster fire, let's just say.
Yeah.
So, going back to episode 9, how the First Order already strip-mined an entire galaxy trying to make the Dreadnought start everything they did.
Yeah.
And even to get the energy for it. And then somehow Palpatine strip-mined another galaxy.
He utilized the Yuzang Vong or something. I don't know, man.
No, because
it's like how?
Because at the end of it all, they destroy 2 Dreadnoughts. Which I'm gonna get to the Resistance after this, because the Resistance, boy. Oh, I'll go back to that. Because
stay on target.
Stay on target. Stay on target. So he just, under the nose of the Republic, under the nose of the First Order, or the first. What are they? Is it a First Order?
Huh?
First Watch.
First what?
I've lost all... What are they called?
We're lost.
I'm completely lost.
You talking about the New Republic?
No, the First...
The First Order.
First Order. It is First Order.
Yeah, it is the First Order, even though they're not the first.
No, they're not.
That's okay.
Oh.
They get their gold star.
They get their bozo button. Yeah. I love the... yes, they were the First Order, and we are the Final Order, the new one.
Wait, who called themselves the Final Order?
The Palpatine dude!
You're all the same order!
No, literally, whenever freaking Kylo finally made it, Kylo magically made it to that planet without finding the thing that Rey was looking for, or did he? I don't remember.
There were 2 or 3 of them.
2 or 3.
There were 2 of them. He
planet.
He found one in the beginning. That's why. You remember when we first started watching 9?
Oh, that's
and
right.
It just opens up with Kylo Ren just slaughtering people.
Yeah.
And I whip around on the couch and I'm like, is this really how we're starting?
Yeah.
Is this seriously how this movie starts?
I think I'm already starting to repress memories of this again.
Well, me too.
But
I'm not watching it again.
No. No, that was too bad. That was too bad. I forgot half the movie, and as I was watching it.
Look, I'm sitting there, and we're watching 8, and you're holding your kid, and you remember I was thinking, if this baby would cry, that would improve this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
Like,
oh,
please.
my heavens.
Anyway.
But,
the
final order.
The final order.
The final order.
The final count. Anyway.
Yeah, that's when Kylo found him.
Oh,
and then he revealed that, oh, yes, Snoke was just an extension of me. Because they had to figure out how to, like, have a villain when they killed off the villain in the first one. And Kylo... I'm sorry, Adam Driver, if you ever hear this, but Kylo was probably the worst villain that has ever existed in anything.
That's a tall order, but...
I mean, it's a tall order.
First order.
It's the first order and the final order. No. Anyway. But, I mean, it was nothing against his acting or anything like that. No, he just had crap writers that could not...
You know, he was probably one of the best actors, aside from Finn's actor.
Yeah.
His name John something, starts with a B, I don't remember. But I remember in The Force Awakens, Finn was my favorite character.
Oh yeah,
and then they just screwed him.
Yeah, no, they removed every aspect of his character. And then in the last one, I don't even know what they did to him.
I don't know
either.
Like,
he was... Like, was he supposed to be comedic relief or something? I couldn't even figure out why he was there.
I don't know. Anyway, did you ever make your original point?
No, I was... Okay, getting to the point. Final order. Palpatine's back.
Yeah,
Snoke
somehow.
was...
Some extension of him.
Some extension of him. Something cloning. Something still alive. Garbage. Because I like, even to this day, I still can't entirely wrap my head around the stupidity of that entire scenario. Because it's like, yes, I was cloning myself the entire time, and I've been leading the First Order secretly from behind, and it's like...
Yeah, because that sounds like Palpatine.
Yeah.
That really sounds like Palpatine, doesn't it?
Yeah, Palpatine definitely likes to leave it in the hands of other people. Definitely doesn't get directly involved, like taking over an entire Senate on his own, pretty much.
Yeah. He needed help, but it was manipulated help, so yeah.
A lot. So, but...
Made himself emperor so he could rule in the shadows. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Jan.
So, anyway. All of that, just to kind of get to the final point of the... I'm going to call them the Palpatine Star Destroyers. Because somehow... They got all these resources. Somehow did all of this. Somehow blah, 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 blah. Somehow he has the manpower to be able to pilot every single one of these.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know if it was supposed to be automated, which they didn't explain thoroughly or not.
You shouldn't automate a ship that big. That doesn't make any sense.
No, you shouldn't. But suffice to say, they essentially decided, hey, economics actually don't matter when it comes to sci-fi because we think it's fantasy enough that we can just do whatever we want.
No, granted,
and
granted, Star Wars is, I would call it a sci-fantasy. It's mostly sci-fi, has elements of fantasy in it. That's no excuse.
No, it's not any excuse because even with the elements of fantasy, you don't apply the elements of fantasy to the sci-fi part because it doesn't make sense how a torpedo can go down a tube that's the size of a rat. Because that's friggin' space magic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't magically make a torpedo exist to travel down a tube that doesn't exist just to have a big explosion at the end.
Well, and you think about the second Death Star. It wasn't complete.
And that was...
It wasn't complete, so it was easier for other ships to get inside and destroy it. Yeah,
and so they didn't have to have the last-ditch effort they did last time. This time, they had enough space for the Millennium Falcon to get through. Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty big ship when it comes to freighters.
Yeah. Yeah, the Corellian class is pretty...
Yeah.
They're decently sized. They're not the largest, but they're decently sized.
Oh my god, why did the Millennium Falcon crash so many times?
I don't know.
Like, I understand... Yeah, I mean, even with Han, it was crashing constantly. They went for a shock factor, but they went for too much of a shock factor because it didn't shock anyone.
No, not really.
I mean, except for... Oh,
that happened.
Because, especially with the planets. Oh no, 6 planets died. Cool.
And then an offhanded remark that's the entire New Republic, and then you're like, wait, what?
Which, I mean, if you compare it to A New Hope, whenever it happens, one, we see first Leia's reaction to literally watching her own planet be destroyed.
Yeah.
Second, we get right after that Ben Kenobi feeling in the Force that an entire planet, all voices screamed out at once and then silence.
Silence. Yeah, and it affects him physically.
And
emotionally. But he kind of keeps himself in check, but he can feel it.
Yeah.
Because it's unusual. You're not supposed to be able to destroy a whole planet all at once like that.
No, that required them to literally get within range. They had to have sight of it. They had to be they had to literally get the Star Destroyer, or the Death Star. Sorry, I'm getting all mixed up with all of them. The Death Star had to literally get parallel, essentially following the orbit of the planet to be able to hit it correctly. Because otherwise, it's a laser. Lasers travel in straight lines. They don't curve. They don't branch off.
I know, yeah, it was like one, and then all of a sudden it branches off, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Plus, hitting a target, you want to talk about space magic bullcrap. That is some space magic bullcrap.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, Kylo's not strong enough to do that. Unless Palpatine from his planet was directing the lasers with his Sith powers.
Oh my god.
It all makes sense now.
Oh yeah, now it makes perfect sense.
Oh god. As I have thoroughly beaten that subject, at least, I probably come back to it a couple more times with things I've forgotten.
Well, I mean, we always kind of circle around
a lot
to things.
So
it's
now we get to the Resistance. I'm gonna keep
the economics of the Resistance.
The economic of the Resistance is kind of so-so, but I mean, the whole economics thing was about ships, so I'm just gonna keep going with ships.
That's fair.
Because
Go for it, man.
By golly, did they forget about the Y-wing?
Oh. Yeah.
So, I know a lot of... if anybody who's a Star Wars fan and remember it, they know the Y-Wings. Y-Wings were the bomber class of the Rebels fighter pilots. Just like there's a specific type of TIE fighter that actually was a bomber class.
Yes.
They brought these into Battlefront, like the actual video games. You could actually fly A-Wings, Y-Wings, X-Wings.
Yeah.
X-Wings were the fighter class. They were the ones for the fighter-to-fighter combat. Y-Wings are the ones that are supposed to deal with the bigger ships to actually deal more damage because they were slower than the X-Wings, but they had heavier payloads.
Yeah.
But they weren't that much slower because they could keep up with the X-Wings until they went into they opened the wings and they went into the combat, essentially combat mode. But Episode 7 is the first one on my crap list. I was about to say something else. They're the first ones I'm on it because whenever they're attacking Starkiller Base, they decide to go on a bombing run.
With fighters.
With X-Wings.
With fighters.
Which I'm like, okay.
Which they do have torpedoes, but they never used them that I can remember.
They were using them, but these are torpedoes that are designed to destroy small aircraft.
Yeah, because
not
they're
an entire
fighter planes. Yeah.
Not an entire building.
Yeah.
Which then Bo decides to do the fancy thing of flying inside... Poe. Fo.
Pobo, yeah.
Moo.
Po boy, anyway.
Po boy. Oh, I love po boys.
Yeah.
But Poe decides to do the fancy thing, flies inside, shoots up everything, makes it all actually explode, flies back out.
Because that's what Anakin did in episode 1.
Oh my god. Well, yeah, I forgot that they actually had that in. Okay. Wow, they really tried.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, the helmet Rey wore in the beginning was reminiscent of the helmet of Anakin when he was pod racing. Yep. And I hated that. Anyway, continue.
Actually, no. Wasn't that the same helmet that Luke was using while training with Ben for the first time?
No, I'm talking about in the first time we see her in episode 7.
You're right. When she's climbing the Star Destroyer.
Okay. Anyway. Aside.
First, that is the first and foremost where the Resistance was a steaming pile of trash. Secondly, that was Y-Wings. Didn't have it, should have had it. Which, canonically, I will say this. In episode 9, they had them.
Yeah.
They had all of them
the whole time.
They had them the whole time. And even in episode 9, they still don't use them correctly because they're only using their front cannons, which are supposed to be for fighter defense. but they're using that to attack the Star Destroyers instead of using bombs. And don't tell me they don't have them, because this is a resistance that was backed up by the Republic.
Yeah.
They have resources. They had those resources when they were rebels.
Yeah.
And on the run from the Empire. But then we get to episode 8 in the very beginning. With
beginning. Oh, those bombers.
Worst bombers I have ever seen in a science fiction movie in my entire life. And apparently, I actually found a little information about this. The guy who was the director apparently had seen a couple World War II movies and thought that was one of the coolest things ever. So it explains why he made the dumbest bombers that have ever existed in space combat. Because he wanted it to be like World War...
that's exactly what you mentioned. You were like, it was like they pulled out bombers from World War II, which was a completely different time in space.
It wasn't space. It's literally air combat.
Yeah,
and
it's air combat, which is
the only ship that could carry that level of payload.
Oh, no.
And he decided to put that in spaceship combat.
Yeah.
Which I want to say, they were probably the most... I can't say the actual word. They were the dumbest design for a bomber in spaceship combat I have ever seen in my entire life. 1, why don't they have shields? 2, why are they so freaking slow?
Oh, they're so slow.
And 3, why is there no protection for the payload?
Yeah.
Like, a stray shot from a person inside could set off the entire thing and the entire ship's gone.
Well, and then you see the visual, like when we're inside, all those bombs are rattling.
Yeah!
They're rattling against each other.
That kind of ship shouldn't have that kind of, like, gyration while it's flying for the first
It was so rickety.
Yeah!
It was so rickety.
You have a bomber class that you can use that has the same speed as the fighter class under certain circumstances, and instead you put resources into literally suicide bombers.
Yeah. Well, that's essentially what it was.
Because
because what did they have? 12 of them, and only one of them made it, and it didn't even make it.
No, it didn't make it.
Because it still got destroyed.
Yeah. So literally half of their fighters dead. The dumbest bombers I have ever seen in my entire life. And yeah, congratulations. You dropped like 5 metric... a lot of things I can't say. A crap ton of bombs on it. Yes, you destroyed one of the Juggernauts. Congratulations. I don't really know how that worked. Maybe they knew that was where the central energy core was, because it caused the entire thing to explode.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that's another thing we'll have to get into, is how the Resistance just magically knew all weaknesses of everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's a different point later on, too. All of this, just to kind of, like, show that, I guess the Resistance was in a harder point, but at the same time, all it did was just show a worse use of manpower and resources than Starship Troopers. Like, I've seen those movies. They literally went unga bunga and threw men with machine guns on a planet to try to kill bugs. And I would actually say this is worse, because they purposely went up against something they knew was superior and decided to throw a big, slow rock at it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm like...
Big, slow, rickety rock. Well, the thing is, it's like, okay, so the director really liked that. Nobody told him no, because that doesn't make any sense. There's your first problem.
Yeah.
And then in the story, they just arbitrarily wanted to kill somebody that we didn't know, so that we could feel bad for another character that we didn't know later on in the movie. Which
was even funnier, because then they realized that the fans didn't like her so much that they sidelined her in the next movie.
Yeah, well, not without, like, a whole bunch of attacks and things. And just, there was a lot... I don't really get into fandom drama or stuff like that until recently, but there was a whole lot of nonsense going on. The same type of nonsense that's still going on, especially with Disney Plus, Amazon shows.
Great.
Just, basically accusing fandom of being the worst of humanity.
I know, right? Like, you're the ones providing something to entertain people, and whenever the people aren't entertained, you're the ones who decide, oh, you're the terrible people. It's like, no. It was like, we know what we like to be entertained, and you're not providing it.
You're not providing it at
No,
all.
you're providing the exact opposite. Like, episode 9 caused me physical pain.
It did. Like, 7 was the best of the worst. In that it was at least tolerable.
Yeah.
8 was extremely boring.
Made me want to throw up.
9 was, I'd probably agree with you. It's probably one of the, if not the worst movie that's ever been made.
Yep. And that's with context of the actual Star Wars universe and just cinematic in general.
Yeah.
Because
I can't say that I've seen every movie that's ever existed, but
no,
story-wise, it made no sense.
Yeah, and if anybody knows this movie, I would rate it on the same level of Zombievers. If you know that one, then yes.
I don't know that one.
I know that one just because I had interesting friends in high school.
Like,
and I honestly, I think I put it below that one.
Oh wow!
Because at least that one was bad to be bad. This was just bad.
Yeah, high budget bad.
High budget trash.
Yeah.
Like, you could have actually put a dumpster fire on for the 2 hours, and it probably would have been more entertaining.
Yeah.
So
at least something would have blown up, and it might have been interesting.
Okay. So let's see what. Oh yeah, how the crap does distance matter? That's one thing of a part of my notes, because that was one thing that kind of pissed me off about episode 8. Well, granted, this is like a list of things that pissed me off.
Oh yeah, aside from just the whole thing in general.
The entire like suspense of episode 8 of how we're on the run. They're catching us.
Yeah.
The random technology of hyperspace tracking.
Super arbitrary.
Extremely arbitrary. Also, another thing too is fuel has never really been a problem until one of the energy cores have been damaged. There's never really been we're running out of fuel situation.
Well, Star Wars ships do use fuel.
They do, okay.
They do use fuel. You see that a lot in the books.
Never in the movies, really.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think Han mentioned something about fueling up before they left Tatooine. Don't quote me on that, because again, I don't have the movies memorized like I used to. But
okay.
Granted, I never really got into how the ships worked in Star Wars. But there is, from my understanding, there is fuel that is used.
Okay, but if you're talking about like a freighter class like the Millennium Falcon, yeah, that thing's probably not. It's like comparing a semi versus a moped. Semi's gonna hold a lot more gas than a moped is. Yeah, well, that's one thing they got right. The smaller ships lost fuel first.
That is, and then got blowed up.
True, but at the same time, they were literally, most of them were docked planet side before they left. And if you're gonna...
so the first thing they did wasn't fuel the ships?
I guess not.
I mean, were they saying that using light speed burned through all of their fuel? Because I don't think that's how that works.
No, because, I mean, well, they said in the 9th one that they could only use it a certain amount of times, but that was because the hyperspeed, whatever mechanics part of that was faulty. So using it multiple times was causing it to break.
Okay.
But there was no sign of energy being depleted, this and that, unless they're saying that the energy was being depleted more because the ships were being bombarded from laser fire from the dreadnought that magically appeared after the first one was destroyed, because they just happened to send both to the same location to deal with the same group, because they were, I guess they just knew that the first one was going to be destroyed. Even though technically the Star Destroyers themselves would be able to actually fight those kinds of ships anyway, because that's what the Empire did.
Yeah.
They used those, and then more times than not, the Star Destroyers would sometimes win. because the ones the rebels used, they weren't all like cruiser class.
Right.
They were like just big transport ones. But this also gets the actual one thing that really kind of annoyed me about that entire situation was not just the fuel thing, but the fact that for some reason the lasers at longer distances were dealing less damage.
Oh, yeah.
But in the movie before that, apparently distance doesn't matter with laser.
Distance doesn't matter because they shot the big old laser.
That destroyed six planets.
Yeah.
But in this one, just for story purposes, they decided, oh yeah, no, we're going to do that. So we're just going to arbitrarily follow them. Oh wait, the Juggernaut class one is the one, or not Juggernaut, the Dreadnought class one was the one that was too slow, but the Star Destroyers were actually, they were canonically faster than the Rebels ones. That's why the Rebels always had to be a step ahead. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, theirs was slower than ours, than the Resistance ones now.
Yeah. Well,
it was a lot of circumstance to make a stressful situation.
That wasn't all that stressful.
Not really.
Well, because again, it's following like how 7 followed A New Hope. They stole that from The Empire Strikes Back because the Millennium Falcon couldn't jump into hyperdrive. Couldn't jump into hyperspace. Mm-hmm. Which created the tension of the Star Destroyer following them.
Yep.
But
I had forgotten. Wow, it's been so long. I'd forgotten about. They just recreated it again.
Yeah. But then they added a bunch of other stuff that was completely and utterly garbage.
I don't even want to get onto the casino.
No, I'm not going to talk about the space casino.
That could be...
that did a remix of the Cantina song.
Yeah, which was worse.
Yeah.
A lot worse.
That's just the Cantina song. Of course, I think John Williams did do the music for all 3 of those. Poor man. But he got paid, so hey.
He got paid, and he's done, so...
Yeah, so it's... okay. Thanks, John, but... Sorry, dude.
Oh, yeah. I also have in my notes here that they decided to make Chewie vegan.
I think that's all that really needs to be said about that.
Yeah, which, I mean, if we want to go more into that, we can go that with another video whenever we do the character assassinations that happened all throughout the movie.
Yeah, because we haven't even talked about characters yet.
Nope, and that will have to be on another probably next time.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I think, we've probably gone on long enough about this, so... It'll be interesting to see what y'all's opinions are. Was there something we missed? Is there something you want to add?
Is there something
we got wrong? Hit us up in the comments.
Yeah,
if there's something we got wrong, hit us up in the comments. Let us know.
Yep. And...
well, if you've hung around this long, thanks for listening. Stay awake, everyone.